Hello and welcome to another C3 Stingray video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do, and hit that like button, that notification button, all those buttons. Today we're going to take out a 700R4 automatic transmission out of this 84 Corvette. Now this is another step-by-step procedure. Everyone seems to like those, so what I'm doing is I'm following the procedures out of the GM manual. Actually pulled these procedures from an 85 Corvette manual, so a lot of these C4 Corvettes are very, very similar, so you should be able to utilize this for many of the years between 84 and 96. I know they changed the transmission in 94, but a lot of the stuff will be used, especially in the earlier ones, the 84 through 93. So I'm not even going to keep rambling on here. Let's just jump right into the video and let's go. And this is my 1984 parts car. The interior is pretty much gone in this thing, but the rest of it's pretty well intact. But you'll see right off the bat I'm missing a few things because you're supposed to disconnect the negative off your battery as the first step, and I'm missing a battery and the cover for it. Next, for this 84, we're going to take off the air cleaner, which is the two nuts in the center, and then the four 10mm bolts that hold the crossfire down. There also should be some connecting hoses there, but this one's not connected up, but you'll have to disconnect any hoses connected to that. Step number 3 is taking the throttle valve cable off, the TV cable. This runs to the transmission. If you just slip this cable off the end here, you won't have to mess with any adjustments and everything will stay the same. This gives you some slack so you can take it off the transmission itself. You don't want to really mess with these adjustments because it has to be adjusted just right, and if you do mess with that, you're going to have to readjust everything. And it's really important on the 700R4s to have these adjusted properly. Now you're going to want to raise the car as high as you can possibly raise it. I have these 6-ton jack stands that I put under there. It gets it pretty high, but it still wasn't high enough, as you'll find out, to get that transmission out from underneath it, but we'll talk more about that later on. Next up is we have to remove the exhaust and all these oxygen sensors and other things connected to it. The entire exhaust is going to have to be removed to do this job. So we're going to start with this air line that's on the passenger side. There were 5/16 clamps holding that on. I just loosened that so that'll come out. It's a little better look at where it is. And on the driver's side, there's this air sensor here. It can simply just be unplugged. And then we're going to have to go to the manifold bolts. Now, I mean, there's a good chance you can bust these manifold bolts, the studs. I like to use air impact because it just seems to do a better job. There were 3 15mm on each side. Well, at least there were 3 on this side. This is the driver's side. So you can see in the passenger side, someone's already snapped one of the studs, so it's already gone. But I'm going to take these other 2 out. You might want to spray them before you do it just to make sure. Now we're down to the catalytic converter, and there's 6 10mm screws on the side of this cover that'll hold it in, and there's also 2 15mm on a clamp on the front. So I'm going to take these 10mm out. So I was able to get to them, most of them with a ratchet, and then I had to take one with a ratchet wrench. And then I'm using the impact on these 2 15mm that hold that clamp. Now that should be loose. Now we just got to go down to the end where we got 2 more 15mm bolts holding the rest of the exhaust up. I did put a floor jack up in the front, under the front exhaust, just so this all wouldn't flop down when I took this apart, as you'll see in a second. You look down, you can see the floor jack with the 2x4 holding the front up. And now we're going to take the inspection cover off. It covers the torque converter, and there's just 4 10mm bolts holding that on. And this tool here is, I don't remember where I even got this. I found this, and it helps turn the flywheel when you need to turn it to get to the bolts and the torque converter. Before you take these bolts out, you're supposed to mark the flex plate and the torque converter so you can put this back the same way you took it off. I did not mark that. But here's the tool I was talking about. It helps turn that. And there's 3 15mm bolts that hold the flywheel to the torque converter. But as I said, in the GM instructions, you're supposed to mark this so you can put it back the exact same way you took it off. So it's probably a good idea to mark that with something. Now here's the transmission lines and that TV cable attachment that I was telling you about earlier, which is kind of hard to get to right now, so I'm going to wait till I lower it more before I get to this. So we're going to go to the other side though and take the shifter line off. As you can see, someone's already taken the 2 bolts out of the pan that hold that shifter cable on. I just need to take the 1 nut off to take the cable off completely. And there's a plug there. We need to unplug that. We're going to need to disconnect any electrical connections to the transmission. We'll see them all before this is over with, but you need to just pop those out. And now I'm going to take that nut off that shifter cable. Like I said, they already took the 2 bolts out of the pan, but this is a 15 millimeter. You can see there's a lot of 15 millimeters in this thing. Just unscrew that and pop that off. Now this is not in the instructions, but a lot of people do this. They want to take that distributor cap off because when the engine tilts back, it hits the firewall. And if you pop this off, it gives you a couple more inches so the engine can tilt back and not hit anything. Now there's still a piece left of was holding that catalytic converter up. There's 2 10 millimeters on the end of the transmission that we're going to take out to remove this to get it out of the way. I already took the rest of that cover off. I don't know why I didn't show that. There were 2 10 millimeter bolts holding that rest of that cover on. I took it off just to get it all out of my way. Now we're up to the point where we're going to have to remove this torque arm or ladder bar or whatever you want to call it. But before we can do that, we need to support the transmission because obviously this is what's helped holding everything in alignment. So we want to need to get something under that transmission to hold it up while we take these 4 bolts out. So I'm going to get my transmission jack. Now if you don't have a transmission jack, you'll have to use a floor jack or something to hold that up. This is a really cheap one I got from Harbor Freight. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it was the least expensive one. And I've used it more times than I can remember, and it seems to work out okay. Big problem with it, it sits kind of tall once the transmission's on. It's still sitting kind of high, so sometimes it's difficult to get things out from underneath. Alright, we have that supported now, so now it's time to take these bolts out. Now these are 18 millimeters in the front. There's a nut up on top and the bolt on the bottom, so you have to like feel around up there. We're back to feeling around on the old working on Corvettes. You're always feeling around for things. You're gonna hold that nut on the top while you turn the bottom. I'm using my air impact, which takes these right out pretty easy. Now we're gonna go to the back, and the only thing I can find to fit these are a 7/8. So I'm putting a 7/8 wrench on top and using the impact on the bottom. According to GM, the next step should be to take this torque bar, this ladder bar, off and get it out of the way. They say, well, just push the transmission and the engine over and pull it out. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to take this drive shaft off first. These are 8 millimeter bolts. There's 4 of them holding these U-clamps on over the U-joint, and you'll want to make sure you get a good grip on those. You don't want to round off these bolts because they're really small. They're only 8 millimeter, and I just kind of used a regular wrench and made myself my own little breaker bar, because most people put them on with Loctite, so they're usually on there pretty good. But once you break them loose, they come off pretty easy. I'm really not sure why GM said that this torque bar would come off before any of this other stuff, because I really don't see how you could do it. I'll show you in a minute what I mean about that. But this drive shaft's coming off easy. I didn't mention earlier that you were supposed to also support the engine with the jack. I got my floor jack underneath the engine now. I really don't think it's necessary, but I did put it under there. You can see it now. We're going to slide this drive shaft out This transmission is held pretty high now, so it's not leaking, but once I lower it, it will start dripping transmission fluid out the back. You want to be careful not to lose the caps off your U-joints, although really if you're going to this much trouble, you might as well just change those U-joints while you got everything apart. But here's what I was showing you about this. It's impossible to get this torque bar out without taking the bell housing bolts out first. Because look at that, no matter what you do, it's never going to clear, especially the top. I could get the bottom to clear, but not the top. And I didn't want to mess with it. It's not in my way. I can just keep on going. Alright, now we're taking out the 6 14mm bolts holding bell housing on. I have a really long extension and a swivel. And actually it's really easy to get out because I lowered the transmission down enough where I could easily access all of them with that really long extension I have. And I had zero trouble getting that out. But while I was on this passenger side, I decided now that it was lowered, I was going to also take out those transmission lines. And we also have that TV cable. As you can see behind, you can see those transmission lines are out. They were 13mm that unscrewed those. Now it's a 10mm bolt holding this TV line in. Once you have the bolt out, you just pull up and there's like a little hook. It goes into that little eyelet there. There's a hook that it just drops right down into the transmission. I'll show it to you later. Okay, now we're on the driver's side, taking those 3 14mm bolts out of the bell housing. And as you can see now with the bell housing loose, I can move it over where I can get this torsion bar out. And you can see the wasp nest falling out of the ladder bar. Now I found that there was one more attachment, electrical line connected with an 8mm bolt on the top of the transmission. I have to take that out, and there's also one more plug-in that I did not see on the driver's side. Now I'm removing the transmission dipstick just to get that out of the way. And I'm strapping down the transmission since I have this little strap on my transmission jack just to hold it in place, make sure it doesn't fall down. And now I can move it out. This actually came out really easily. It came off and out really easily. But now I'm going to find out that I do not have enough clearance to get it out from underneath the car. So I decided to take the dipstick tube out of there, which is really easy to remove. You just kind of keep wiggling it back and forth and it just sits in a little rubber donut kind of thing. And there goes the transmission fluid again. But I had to put the board I was using to hold the engine up. I took that out and put it underneath the car so I could raise this up another couple inches to get this transmission out of here. And here it is in all its glory. And here's that TV cable I was talking about, how it hooks in. It's really dirty here, but as you can see, it's just a little hook that hooks in that little eyelet that we showed you earlier. And that is your TV control. Well, I hope you found this video of some use. I think the hardest part, this is a pretty easy job. I think you probably knock it out in a couple hours. I had to stop in the middle of it to go do something, came back 2 days later to finish this off, plus I'm setting up cameras and all this other crap that slows me down. But I think the worst part is just that ladder bar, that support bar, whatever you want to call it, connected to the transmission, to the rear end. Getting that off is a pain in the butt, and according to the manual, you're supposed to be able to just push everything out of the way and slide it right out. I don't know how that's possible. I guess it is possible. But I found it's way easier if you just take the bolts off the bell housing first, then you can actually move the transmission a little bit and slip that out. But I would make sure that you have that lined up when you go put your transmission back in. Make sure you kind of get that set before you bolt anything down. That way, you know, you can get it in there, because I think you would have a hell of a time if you bolt the transmission up, then try to put that in. I think it's going to be a pain. I think you're going to have to kind of maneuver it up there and kind of have it sitting there ready to go. But that's up to you. You can check out my other videos. I got a lot of videos up on, especially on C4s and C3s and some C5s. I don't have a C5 anymore, unfortunately, but I do have a lot on that. I'll be doing more on my C3 wide body pretty soon. I hope to do the next video I want to do is taking this engine out of this car. I'm trying to keep everything intact, so it, would just be just like how you were taking out your car. My interior is completely, almost all gone in this thing. I haven't been taking it apart, but I want to do the engine next. I think that would be a pretty good video. And of course, I got some game videos and some video reviews and other things too that I want to do. As I always keep saying, I want to keep doing more videos, but life just keeps getting in my way, and I just want to get more stuff done on here because I enjoy doing these, and I think they're pretty entertaining, and I think they're pretty informative, where they tell you step by step. It's kind of the videos I would want to see if I was wanting to take something apart. I wouldn't want to know all this stuff. So hopefully they're helpful to you, and please post your comments and if this is helpful to you. Alright, I guess that's it. I'm rambling on. You can go to my website and get new C3, C4, and C5 Corvette parts, new and used. I have used on eBay, but the link will be there on my website at c3stingray.com. And that is it. I'm done talking. I'll see you on the road.